Hey everyone, welcome back. This is React Part 2 of the International Essential Tremor Foundation non-motor symptoms. So we'll get into this. There's a previous video if you want to catch up for Part 1. And before we start on this one, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. It would really help me in my message of getting out awareness about essential tremor. All right, let's get started.
There are some personality traits that have been identified in essential tremor. Many conditions, neurological conditions, have certain personality traits. Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone has all of the personality traits. This is just a collection of evidence or data over many, many studies. And it seems that the harm-avoidant personality seems to be much more common in essential tremor. And the features of a harm-avoidant personality include anticipatory worry, pessimism, fatigability, social apprehension, a self-reproaching kind of behavior, overly cautious, and being overly skeptical. Now, some of these are present in all of us at any given time, but there is a higher prevalence of these in essential tremor to the point where these traits may interfere with interpersonal interaction and social interaction. So therefore, it's important to know that these are fundamental personality traits which may be addressed in counseling, etc.
I think that's important to note, is that you're going to see a lot of these in folks, and you can address some of them with some type of counseling or therapy sessions. But for folks with essential tremor and what they deal with their movement disorder, it really has affected people strongly, and there is a much higher prevalence of those in the folks with ET.
People with essential tremor seem to have more cognitive impairment than age-matched controls. And the areas of cognition that seem to be more affected are memory, particularly memory of events, concentration, decreased executive functioning and planning, sequential tasks seem to be more affected, and impaired abstract reasoning. Interestingly, the cognitive domain, like the neuropsychiatric domain, is affected more in people who have a midline tremor. So there seems to be an overarching, maybe pathology that suggests that midline tremor is people with midline tremor have more neuropsychiatric and cognitive symptoms. And why is that? Well, one hypothesis is due to the connections between the cerebellum and the brain in people who have midline tremor seem to be altered in these particular areas.
So, interesting thing to note here, actually a couple things. He mentioned the cerebellum. That is where it is believed that the part of the brain that has an issue that causes ET. And it's also important to note that folks with ET sometimes feel like they're losing their mind. They feel like they just can't remember things the way they used to. They have a hard time concentrating at work or on specific tasks that they're trying to do. And it really can be a part of essential tremor. And it's one more way that folks with the disease tend to feel bad about themselves. And it plays right into the previous video where it mentioned depression and anxiety. That can also start to get people really feeling down.
Sleep disturbance is common in many neurological conditions, but in essential tremor, interestingly, like in Parkinson's disease, there is a higher incidence of idiopathic or cause unknown REM behavior sleep disorder, which is enacting your dreams while you're asleep. Typically, when we are dreaming, the body is really quiet. All muscles are relaxed because some dreams can be vigorous and involve running, etc., and you don't really want to enact those dreams. But a REM behavior disorder is a sleep disorder in which exactly that happens. Then you can imagine it can be dangerous to your bed partner. You could fall out of bed if you're actively enacting your dreams.
I've had more than one instance of this, and I have had some pretty vivid dreams where I've been running, I've been fighting, something going on, and I have been really moving around a lot and my limbs flailing around in bed, and my partner has to wake me up, and he says that he knows I'm dreaming about something, but he has to be really careful that I don't accidentally hit him while he's in the process of waking me. So yeah, this, I can vouch, is actually a part of having ET.
REM behavior disorder is a very classical premotor symptom in Parkinson's disease, and it's quite prevalent in Parkinson's disease. People with essential tremor also have a higher prevalence, but not to the extent as in Parkinson's disease. So about 24% of people are affected by this. There may be a commonality in pathology. There are certain parts of the brain, such as the locus coeruleus, which degenerate in Parkinson's disease and which also show pathological changes in essential tremor. That could explain why REM behavior disorder is more common in essential tremor. And interestingly, people who have a rest tremor in association with the classical action tremor of essential tremor seem to display more REM behavior disorder. And that's interesting because it raises the question, are these people going to develop Parkinson's disease in the future? Because as we know, rest tremor is the classical tremor we see in Parkinson's disease. And action tremor is the classical tremor we see in essential tremor. But this fact is not settled, but it's just...
So I want to interject here really quickly, and he brings up that it is more common for essential tremor to have the action tremor, and it's more common for Parkinson's to have the rest tremor. But the key words here are most common or most prevalent in. And you know, there can be instances of people with ET or people with Parkinson's actually having both. It's not a regular occurrence, but they can have both.
Just observed in clinics. Additionally, because of disturbed sleep, people with essential tremor suffer from excessive somnolence. Now, it is important to recognize that when we treat people with essential tremor and use medications such as primatone, or topiramate or gabapentin, all these medications cause excessive somnolence. And so it is possible that the excessive sleepiness during the day and some other non-motor symptoms could be associated with the medications that we're giving people with essential tremor. But case control studies have demonstrated that their non-motor symptoms, such as excessive somnolence, are present in people with essential tremor when controlled for the amount of medications they are taking. And unfortunately, if you don't sleep well, you have a lot of daytime fatigue. So, it could be a double whammy. People with essential tremor are predisposed to excessive somnolence and daytime fatigue, and then you get the medications that can exacerbate that, and that can really impair health-related quality of life. So one must be aware of that.
So, yeah, the last part there that he mentions about the daytime fatigue. So sometimes you can get a double or even triple whammy with those. You already have fatigue from the tremor. Then if you're on medications, those can also cause some fatigue, and they can also cause issues with kind of brain fog where you feel like you can't concentrate. And then if you go back to some of those personality traits where you have trouble concentrating, then that compounds, and then you start to get depressed because of those feelings, which then leads more into a prolonged depression. So it's sort of this nasty cycle that starts happening. All right, guys, that's the end of this video. Thanks for sticking around for it, and I'll see you in part 3.
In terms of sensory